everyone to another amazing MMA Island interview. I'm joined here with a very, very special guest coming off of the round one TKO finish. We're here to recap UFC 275 and get down to some business. I'm joined with the one and only Atomic Alonzo Menifield. How are you doing, my man?
Oh man, doing awesome. Feeling great.
Perfect. And I've got to say, I love that nickname, Atomic Alonzo Menifield. It just runs off the tongue. Where did it come from?
Well, they were trying to give me these animal names, and I was like, yeah, that's all cool or whatnot, but I like to be known like a weapon because I went I went to a zoo and I had an interaction with like a gorilla, and he was just like kind of like this powerful animal, and he was put in his cage, and I was like, man, I don't think I want to be, so much like that because I also seen a lion. But I was like, what put him there as a weapon? So I was like, automatically, I was like, atomic. That's a weapon.
You said you
And
had
then I went with
a
that.
reaction with the gorilla. What was that about?
I don't know. I was like, oh man, how long you been to the gorilla? And he like literally was interacting with me.
That's
Um,
okay.
and and that's what I thought of the name atomic.
Fair enough then. I mean, obviously last night, huge fights over in Singapore. I'm sure, did you manage to catch them then, I'm guessing?
Yes, I did. I mean, the whole main card, even the prelim, it was super entertaining.
So is there a sort of thing, do you watch these fights regularly? Do you sort of have like you sit down with the family and watch them, or is it more a friend sort of thing? Or do you watch on your own?
Yeah, I watch them on my own, but mainly I watch them also with my wife. But yeah, this is pretty much all I watch. I don't watch any other sport, just always MMA.
Does that sort of feel weird almost like, because it must, obviously it's a great sport, fighting, a lot of people love watching it, but do you sort of see, can you almost enjoy the fights because you see it as work, or this person could be doing this or that instead of just sitting down and enjoying them?
Um, you said, can you run that again for me?
Yeah, sure. When you watch the fights, obviously, because it's like work for you, so do you see them from a different perspective? So, really critiquing and analyzing fighters' performances instead of just sitting down and just enjoying some good fights.
Yeah. It's like, I guess 50-50. Entertain, obviously who I don't know, who aren't in my weight class. But yeah, strategic as far as who's in my weight class. So, but yeah, I enjoy it, and also I'm getting into the betting side, so that's like three factors to go in as far as fighting.
So then, did you win big last night then?
No, I did not. I went for Glover. I know Shenko won and Joanna. So
Oh, there's always next time.
yeah, next time.
What's obviously he's sitting down watching the fights. It's a long card, especially watching the prelims up to the main card. What's the best snacks to have out when you're watching the fights?
Snacks. So we try lemon peppers. I love milk chocolate almonds. And sparkling water.
Those have got to be some of the healthiest snacks I've ever heard. Yeah, not me. Obviously, over in the UK, we're here watching them at 5 in the morning. So I've just got a bottle of water next to me, so I can't eat anything that late. It just doesn't agree with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but looking at the fights, obviously the three main fights, starting off with Weili Zhang versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk. What were your sort of initial thoughts? Coming off an amazing first fight they had 2 years ago. Did you see, before the fight? Did you see it going the same way?
No, I mean, I honestly thought Joanna would use her skills and move her head more off the center line because that was her downplay as far as the last fight. But it turned out to be different with the wrestling as far as that she had to face. And then who would have ever thought that spinning back fist, right,
Yeah.
or back forearm? That was pretty crazy.
In terms of excitement, I think it carried off from the first fight. It pretty much seemed round six from the first fight. And after a competitive first round, obviously we had some grappling exchanges on the feet from Zhang showing her strength. Could you see a finish coming?
No, I mean, I didn't see it finish. I know cardiovascular was going to play a role, but I thought they probably would go another 5 rounds, or 3 rounds. I think it was three.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, obviously, the finish was absolutely spectacular. Joanna face down. We've never really seen that from her. And obviously, after she retired, I mean, what do you make of her retirement? I'm sure it's not something that you were expecting, but can you sort of understand it from her point of view?
Yeah, I could see her being gone for those years and establishing some type of cash flow and just as far as a fighter, when your heart isn't in it, then you definitely shouldn't go into it because you can get seriously hurt. Um, but do I think she has more in her? Absolutely. Um, am I okay with her decision? Yes.
What do you make of, obviously it's every fighter's decision, but Joanna seemed like the same classic Joanna. I wouldn't say even after 2 years she seemed out of touch at all. Like it was her, it was her past self fighting. Do you think, like, in your position, do you see yourself fighting until you can't anymore, or do you want to see retire when you're still in peak condition and on top?
For me, it wouldn't matter. I'm going to Glover Teixeira route.
Fair enough. And obviously, Dana said before the fight, I think the winner will be fighting Carla Esparza for the title. How do you think Zhang Weili matches up with Carla?
I think with the wrestling that she displayed, I think she matches up very well. Um, if I had to put money on that one, I would definitely go with um go with her.
Well, yeah, hopefully, it obviously, start the betting off streak. Good for you, so you could get some good luck there. So you never know, it could go your way. And
Right.
going into sort of the next fight, obviously a massive fight: Valentina Shevchenko versus Tyler Santos. Arguably Valentina's toughest test in a while. Tyler
Yeah.
Santos has got an amazing knockout streak. Going into that fight, it was so competitive with grappling and striking. In your opinion, who do you think won?
Um, I thought it was close. The decision as far as split, when you coming for some, I guess as a challenger coming for a belt, anytime split is announced, in my opinion, it probably should always go to the champ. Um, given that, I mean, I thought it was super tight, close, and her doing that takedown in the 5th round was clutch, and it got her the split decision win. But it was man, that was a shocking fight, right?
Definitely. I think that the grappling exchanges were so crucial and important in this fight, especially the first 2, 3 rounds. Tyler Santos being able to take Valentina down. A lot of people were saying, she was just lying on top of Valentina, doing anything. Was her top game enough for you, do you think, in order to sway decision?
Uh, I don't think her top game was enough. I thought it was on time as far as that fifth round. So you get 1, 2, and 3. 3 is questionable as far as who it can go to. 4 and 5, obviously, Shevchenko. Um, based on her fighting the way she fought. But yeah, it's a tough one, man.
Definitely, a lot of people been saying after the fight that Valentina not got exposed, but she really got shown a light with the clinching, the grappling. People say Tyler was too strong for her. What do you sort of make of that? Do you think that was the case, or do you think on the night Tyler was just sort of like getting the better of the exchanges on the clinch?
Yeah, I mean, as far as getting the better of her, I know Shevchenko was probably shocked that Santos was strong, and in that aspect was able to out grapple her in a way. Um, so I think she definitely was shocked on how keen she was as far as the grappling and moving in those exchanges as far as the grappling and getting in the best position, Santos. So but but with that, the champ, she came through. She got that takedown at the end. It was clutch. So it is what it is, right?
Exactly, and those last 2 rounds, I think it's just been announced that Tyler's going to have to go into surgery for obviously her eye, and she pretty much fought the fourth and fifth rounds with one eye. Do you think if obviously, it's hard to tell if she sort of had two eyes, I guess you could say, in the championship rounds, it would have been different, because a lot of people saying that sort of limited her movement on the feet.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't, to fight with a broken anything, it's mentally you got to go to a different, I guess, space. And I don't know if Santos ever experienced that, but now she does, or have experienced. So as far as like the future, it should be okay. But yeah, that definitely can hinder anyone if you have a broken face from a headbutt.
I think both fighters, showed some flaws. Maybe not a lot. Valentina with maybe grappling, Tyler on the feet. How do you think both fighters sort of improve? What can they take away from this fight?
um, I think Santos is believing in more of herself, or as grappling, and just letting her hands go. And Shevchenko, I mean, I don't know, she's pretty solid.
do you think obviously Shevchenko's performance, in the clinch with the grappling, do you think that puts, a shadow, a cast of doubt over her potential move back up to bantamweight to fight Nunes or oh, the name's just slipped out of my head, Juliana Pena?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that'll be interesting. I'd like to see her fight Pena.
Hmm. Do you
That'd be
think
cool.
Pena beats Nunes again?
Do I think Pena beat Nunes? No, I don't.
Fair enough. And moving on to the main event, and wow, what a main event that was! Probably one of the best title fights, certainly in UFC history as well as like heavyweight history. I mean, did they both fight how you expected?
Yes, they did. Glover is tough as nails and Jerry creative as ever. And him getting that grappling in, and Jerry shocking by grappling back and getting out of it and and being himself. I thought the fight was exciting. A lot of key points from both of them, and yeah, overall it was super entertaining.
I think, to my knowledge, I don't think Glover's ever been submitted. Not in the UFC. I don't think his career either. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I mean, what do you think? What do you make of Jiri's grappling? Then, do you think it's sort of overrated or underrated? Because obviously he managed to submit him, decent control, but he allowed himself to just lie on the bottom for most of the fight.
Right. Yeah, I think Jerry has an instinct, and he's seen it and he went for it. As far as his grappling being good or bad, I mean, only time can tell. But I think he did a great job, and Glover did a great job as well. It's just that's the fight game.
That's the fight game indeed. I mean, Jiri said he was quite disappointed in his performance. He was getting tagged a lot, obviously taken down. From those comments, what do you sort of make of him, and what does that say of him about a fighter and a champion?
Oh man, he's game. He's all in. So that's exciting. Whenever you have a fighter like that.
And if you're Jiri Prohaska going into that fifth round, what's your mindset and how are you approaching that?
Yeah, man, yeah. Fifth round, right? It's either uh kill or be killed. Um given that I think they both are like that. Um it showed. They laid it all out.
If you were fighting Jiri Prohaska, obviously, how do you think you match up against him now after looking at his grappling?
Yeah, well obviously you would throw grappling in there, but he's tricky, so you definitely have to mind your P's and Q's with that trickiness and him flying those knees. So with that in mind, I would game plan and try to go about taking those away.
Definitely. And what do you think's next for both fighters? Would you like to see a rematch, or would you like to see Yuri fight Jan, or Glover fight someone else?
Oh man, I would love to see a rematch. Love it.
And obviously, light heavyweight, one of the heaviest divisions, that and heavyweight. I feel like it's almost harder to keep a streak. I'm sure you would know, or stay on top at a heavyweight, because one punch or one exchange can change everything. Is that added pressure, going into a fight, or just being in that division as a whole?
Yeah, it is added pressure when someone expects you to just be, knocking people out. But that's up to the fighter.
Mm.
So given that, I mean, for me, it's like I accept that the fact that I'm a MMA fighter, and I got into the sports because not of the limitation of all the wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing, but because I have options.
Mm.
So I look at all four of those like those are options that you can go into, which makes this sport amazing.
It seems like nowadays, fighters, obviously they're always looking for the finish, and on big cards like you fought, especially on some really big cards, is there an added pressure to to make a finish in front of the crowd, a big statement, or do you just sort of go in there and do as you would do on a fight night at the Apex?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a great thing to try to entertain if you can, but also always remember that you have to win. So if you can do both of them, by all means, do them. But if you can't, then focus on just winning.
And talking about your fight, obviously you've come off an amazing round one TKO victory. You've had a couple a week now, I guess you could say, to sort of celebrate and maybe go back to work. I mean, do you have any post fight rituals that you usually do after the fight, just to relax, to chill out?
Yeah, I just kind of like hang out with the family. We eat a lot of new food and just basically hang out with them and try food. That's what I do.
Try food. What's the best thing that you've tried recently?
We went to a new pizza place, and they cooked the wings in a way where it was tender inside, but the skin came off with lemon pepper,
Ooh.
where it was like kind of like puffy. Um, so I guess a new form of wings.
No, no, what do you make of being at a pizza place? I got to ask you, what do you make of pineapple on a pizza? Yes or no?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, there you go. I just don't understand how people just do not like pineapple on a pizza. I think it goes so well.
Yeah, it does. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
And you mentioned, obviously, hanging out with the wife. I know she's really, really important to you in terms of support. You said in your post-fight sort of interview, do you have any sort of, plans with her throughout this year, like away from fighting, any time to like go on holiday or just do any activities apart from sort of like trying new places for
Yeah,
food?
yeah, absolutely. So, after finishing out this year, we plan on going maybe across the seas and just exploring. We don't know exactly where, but we definitely want to travel and see the world. Um, but so that's the plan. That's on the bucket list.
You've had any ideas on where to go? Obviously, overseas, Europe, Asia.
Right. So we thought of China. We thought of Nigeria. We thought of going to somewhere in Europe. Um, those are pretty much, or mainly Central America. Try that, or South America. But we got I guess 5 points on. We got to make a decision pretty soon.
Yeah, fair enough. Lots of hard places to choose from, so I wouldn't want to be in your shoes for that. And
Right.
and I know from your last fight with Askar, you had pretty much a 6 month layoff. I think you mentioned it's like one of your longest layoffs. I mean, with your family, how does your wife, your kids, how do they support you during that time? How do they keep you grounded in between such a long layoff?
Um, in the way they support me is to stop eating a lot. Uh, but no, they support me by just, I guess, us forming a system and like just getting ready for the fight, and making it where everything's on point as far as water, nutrition, and just being punctual.
Mm.
But yep.
And how do you like your mentality after such long layoff? I'm sure you're itching to fight, especially with the build up with Askar. I mean, how do you sort of stay grounded besides the food and the water? Is it in your training, or is it out of your training to do with spending time and chilling at home?
Yeah, with food and water, as far as how do I prepare?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a major factor. Because I work out and do all kinds of crazy things. So the family and the wife making sure that's always in line, it helps a lot. Leading up to this fight or any fight, so I can be at 100%. Because of past experience, I went into fights where it was like I'll tell the wife, yeah, I'm at 60% as far as like cardio. So we learn from trial and error.
I think this has got to be, especially after your half a year layoff, one of the craziest fight build-ups. I've known for a while, like with your opponent, like the layoff. Just talk to me from your eyes, sort of like the week of going into that fight with his record changing, and how you personally dealt with the craziest and all this attention on your opponent.
Right. He had so many records as far as uh coming into it that I was like, this is weird. And it was strange that I couldn't find any video on a guy who's like 25 and and he had over 30 fights supposedly. So I was like, this is weird. And when I guess I seen him, he was kind of like just not really respectful in a way. He wasn't disrespectful, but he kind of looked at me as if I was kind of like not there. He also made a comment to me where he was, "Relax, buddy, relax," and I'm like, "Man, you're debuting. Um, I've been here. This is nothing to me. There's no issues I feel right now." So given that, I mean, it was weird from there for me, going into the fight. So these are all the things I had already, and with him basically telling me to relax at weigh-ins.
Mm. Obviously, his record and his name changed a few times, and we got there to Askar Mozharov. I mean, before all that, what were your initial thoughts on being matched up with him? You're a you're a fighter with a great pedigree. You fought some big important cards. Did you almost feel disrespected being you paired up with him?
Yeah, in a way, because he's a debuter and he had so many records change, and given that he was to come from Ukraine and make me look like the bad guy,
Mm.
you know, just fighting them because they have the war or whatnot, and I felt in a way where it's I understand it's a fight game, and when you talk about war, it's always a bad thing because it's never pretty. It's brutal. So, given that nature, I don't want that country to be against me in a way because hey, I'm fighting one of the NATOs. But I was fighting him. I did fight him, and given the nature that he was so talkative
Mm.
and he lacked respect. I mean, I treated him like anyone else I would treat who was disrespectful.
Like you said, he made some pretty foul comments, like talking a lot. Is that something that we know when you step into the octagon, does it just go over your head, or do you try to blur it out, or do you sort of, is it useful to carry those sort of emotions going in there and stepping in the octagon against him?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it makes me way more focused. I don't get deranged or whatnot. I just get more focused on the mission and what I want to do. If I have a game plan, which I always do, so it just made me get a lot more focused.
Mozarov sort of, his record, like we said, his name, kept changing. And he was a debutant, so not really anything people knew a lot about him. In a way, does that make him sort of more dangerous, as you don't really know what to expect when fighting him?
Yeah, I make him dangerous. Given that, and he's fighting for the country and whatnot, I'm like, yeah, that's dangerous. So that was more reason why I said, do not play around. Come in here and do exactly what you're supposed to do. and I did. And given that I was really stoked at the end because I couldn't believe he was talking to me so much in the fight and taunting me. Um, given that I blasted him with a right hand and he was literally like shocked. So I mean, maybe that's a fight game. Maybe he was trying to get a reaction, me to stand up with him. I have no idea, but I felt angry because of that.
Mm. And you mentioned obviously the game plan, it worked like a dime. You wanted to sting him and wrestle. I think considering the build up, like the foul comments he said, obviously emotions flying, was sticking to the game plan more satisfying than sort of having an absolute slugfest and then knocking him out?
Yeah, it was because I have to send a message to the whole division, and I wanted to send that I'm more than just striker. I'm more than just knocking people out kind of guy. So yeah, it was important that finish in the way I did it. Um, yeah, I'm very proud of that performance, and if I could do some things different, I would. Uh, but yeah, I take nothing away from it. As far as winning, I enjoyed it.
And with all the emotions going into it and your pedigree as a fighter, do you think it would have been a bit of an injustice if it went beyond the first round?
Yeah, I did. Um, and given that when I was in that crucifix, I thought to myself, I was like, all right, well, let's see if he can throw you off. Literally had a chat with myself. And he couldn't. So I was like, well, this is a round. I'm gonna end it. So when I did, I was satisfied. I was I was stoked inside.
Did you look personally? This is like I said, it was a crazy fight. The build up, the aftermath, the fight itself. Did you learn anything new about yourself on how to handle these situations in terms of a fighting aspect and a mental aspect also?
Yeah. I realized that I can handle pressure. Um, it doesn't matter if a fighter change or he has 3 records or he has a nation who's at war against me, or it doesn't matter if he's talking and taunting. I mean, yeah, I can handle it all.
And despite what was said, from Askar Mozharov, can you respect him in any way for fighting you despite having a bit of a shady past and a record? And to add to that, what advice would you give him going from here?
I just wanted to say, as far as even when I was after the fight, a lot of us fighters, we go in there and we'll fall on our face from the fight, and we'll have to carry that, right? So as far as changing the record, we wish we can do that and say that never happened. So for him to take that and be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to change my name and have 3 records. That's just a utter disrespect as far as any fighter and what we go through. So with that said, that's why I wanted him to understand, like, you can't do that. You own up to your record. You lost, you lost. You win, you win. If you want to improve it and get better. But yeah, own up to that, because fighters walk around here and we had some devastating losses, and we gotta stick to that, although we don't want to.
Mhm.
And that's just be yourself. Um, you don't want to lose, then make sure you find a way not to lose.
And you certainly carry a lot of momentum from this fight. In terms of looking at what's next, what would be the ideal turnaround time for you and a potential opponent if you have one in mind?
No, I mean, I said July, so I'm ready to step in if one of those guys can't fight the light heavyweight in Dallas. As far as an opponent, it doesn't matter to me. I'm pretty sure they're gonna give me some names, and then I'll just go from there.
And for your next fight, are there any plans on changing your record, or are you keeping it the same for this one?
Right? change the record. I'm going to be 40 and 0.
Yeah, there you go. And although, you can't change your record or change your fights really, if you could go back and have one fight again that you fought in the past, what fight would that be and why?
I would fight OSP.
Hmm.
Um, I felt like I got some advice, and then I ran in there and got caught. So I would like to run that back.
Fair enough. I mean, I think you're certainly, a very, very entertaining fighter. And as it says on your Instagram bio, are you not entertained? Which is a great, great movie quote from Gladiator that I love. Do you take any inspiration from that film at all as a fighter?
Yes, I take it. The gladiators, the person who's going in there and he's fighting. Rather back then it was slavery, but for us now it's a choice,
Hmm.
and that's a key point. It's a choice, and I always look at it like I turn and look into the fans and was like, are you entertained? Because I know entertainment is needed,
Hmm.
and that's what I'm trying to give in at all times. But at the same time, make sure I win because I have to support a whole family, 4 kids and a wife.
If if you had to fight as a gladiator in the Colosseum, what would your weapon of choice be and why?
It will be a shield, and it'll be I guess spear, maybe a spear or a knife. Those two I'll go in between. But the reason why is shield, you get the shield and then counter right after that, or wait. Um, as far as like winning the strike. Yeah, I don't know. Shield and the sword.
Yeah, perfect. It's the stands. I think you could do some damage if you were in the Colosseum, to be fair with that.
Yeah.
And obviously you mentioned, are you not entertained? You want to put on a show, have great fights, and also at the same time you've got a family to support. Is that sort of like although you want to be entertaining in the fight, you've got to be cautious of the fact you don't want to get too hurt as you have a family to provide for. Is that sort of a struggle for you going into a fight, or are you just looking
Oh
to put on shows all the time?
no, man. I don't mind if my eyeball were to fall out my skull, or my teeth get broken. No, I personally don't care.
Hmm.
As far as providing for my family, it's just I'm gonna be like do everything you can do as far as for the 2 checks and maybe a third, because that'll solve all your problems.
Hmm.
Which is always finance. Finance is always an issue. Um, when you think about 5, 10, 15 years from now, I mean, you need that to feed yourself.
Do you have any sort of, looking beyond fighting, is there any sort of potential careers or business opportunities that we could see you in the near future? Any side hustles?
Right? I mean, just I guess the perfect example I can say go to Shaquille O'Neal way.
Mm.
Yeah, that would be my approach to cash flow.
Well, I
Give
think,
me some cash flow.
there you go. I think at the start, you saying having an experience with the gorilla, I think you'd be a good zookeeper, like a Doctor Doolittle communicating with the animals. That could be a
I think so too.
potential.
I literally thought that when I was at the zoo.
Honestly, I think that's one of the most insane stories I've ever heard. Having an encounter with a gorilla.
Yeah, it's like him and I were literally communicating. Another couple came by, he just walked away. It was strange.
That's insane. I think maybe you've got to go traveling, maybe to, like you said, Africa or something, and put your skills to the test on a safari.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do it. Maybe go to Africa, and I would try that.
I mean that would be a sight to see, and you've definitely got to record that for the public.
Yeah, I will.
Well, like I said, thank you so much for your time, Alonzo. It's been great having a chat. If there's anything, closing statements you want to shout out, then the floor is yours.
Yeah, closing statement. As far as I think Twitter, they're calling me all kinds of things or whatnot. I don't like writing, drama or whatnot. But as far as they're concerned, that is not what I am. Um, I love all people. Um, and with that said, I have a family, just like everyone else should have a family or does have a family, whether that's a mom or a dad, and children. And I cherish all of that, no matter what color or creed. So with that said, when people are fighting, like what I do, it's always heated. And given that nature, you should just respect that. And as long as we leave it in there, as far as the octagon, then problem is solved. I like to shout out O Limit for clothing me, giving me clothes to wear. That's always a good thing. JK, Beef Jerky, for giving me food. I like beef. Yeah, that's pretty much it as far as sponsors I can think of. But yeah, always remember that I'm this guy um who is always in tune with everyone else, and I'm the guy who will get to the right side of the road so that you can cross. So just know that's who I am. But the name is Atomic, so like anyone else, I got to switch, and good thing I fight in the octagon.
There you go. Atomic Alonzo Menifield. Don't forget the name.